There was a tense atmosphere in the house this evening. Thomas tried to find out from his stepmother why she froze his card. Victoria said that she was ready to discuss everything only after dinner. His younger sister and brother supported their mother, saying that such a conversation should not be rushed. Our hero was furious at their words, since Thomas so persistently refuses to have dinner together. His stepmother decided to clarify the situation. She said she asked his father's lawyer to transfer all the shares into her name. The main character was indignant. His father disappeared 3 years ago, and there is still no news of his death. Despite this, the stepmother took advantage of this and registered all the property in her own name. His brother defended his mother, telling Thomas to watch his words. Victoria stopped her son, saying that she also thought about our hero, who was like a son to her. The woman handed him a gold card with 5 million. Then she put a contract in front of him, saying that if he signed it, he would be provided with money for the rest of his life. Thomas realized that everything had been planned in advance. The woman just smiled, saying that people would not survive if they only thought about themselves. A few moments later, the hero said that he would sign the contract. But on one condition, Victoria expected that he simply wouldn't and asked what his conditions were. Thomas said he didn't need 5 million. Everyone was surprised when the guy asked for his family's ancestral land instead of money. His sister just laughed, saying that on this site there is only a small store that does not have much income. Sometime later, Thomas was given a new contract. He signed it without hesitation. Victoria was glad that everything went as she wanted and congratulated her son on the purchase. Having signed the documents, the hero hurried to get away from this house, saying goodbye that they would regret this day. A few hours later, he reached that same store. Thomas remembered the words of his grandfather, who said that this land should not be sold. It was passed down from generation to generation in his family. The hero decided to go inside, but a sudden bright flash of light blinded him for a few moments when he was inside. Suddenly, the guy heard a voice that said that the owner had been recognized and data was being collected. At the moment when the words about preparations for transferring to another world were heard, the room in which Thomas was located began to change. He was surprised by the changes that had occurred. As he examined the contents of one of the shelves, a voice suddenly sounded from outside. The next moment, a plump man entered the building, saying that finally there was someone he could rely on. He immediately rushed to Thomas, saying that he was obliged to help him. When the hero informed him about the terrible smell, Ashton said that it had been tormenting him for many years and he could not get rid of it. An unknown voice told the hero that he would fulfill his request, but was extremely careful. The voice did not stop, saying that without completing this task, it was impossible to begin the next stage. Thomas had no choice but to agree. The next moment, the hero took out a package of mint chewing gum, which can instantly eliminate the smell. The man, without hesitation, took the salvation offered to him. A couple of seconds later, he felt lightness and freshness fill his body. He asked how much this divine artifact cost. Thomas didn't know what to answer and decided to show 3 fingers. The man said that even for such a high-quality medicine, 3 spirit stones is a high price. Ashton will offer him something else. The guy took the offered bottle of unknown content and listened to its properties. Suddenly, the voice of the system spoke again in his head. He reported that his time in the cultivation world was up, and as a reward for completing the task, he received the ability of the Eyes of Restoration. A few days later, an expensive foreign car drove up to the store. A beautiful girl, who was Thomas's lover, got out of the car. As soon as Alicia found our hero, she asked how things were going in his store. The guy was surprised by her appearance. He heard that the girl was angry when she heard that he had left the family home and was now living here. Suddenly, she invited him to join her, because the hero would not be able to hold out here for a long time. He asked what the girl was up to. He didn't believe that she still couldn't forget him after they broke up. She didn't like Thomas's words. She turned to leave, saying that in a few days she would find him a normal job. Thomas just smiled sadly, following the girl with his eyes. When Alicia left the store, a car was coming towards her, but she did not pay any attention to its direction. A few minutes later, an unfamiliar car stopped at the store and a group of men got out. Coming out into the noise, Thomas saw his old acquaintances. He asked what they needed. Charlie, the leader of this gang, replied that he intended to destroy this place. The next moment, he offered a compromise. If Thomas kneeled before him and called for his missing father, then maybe he would change his mind. The hero ignored his words, yawning for a long time. The man was angry at this reaction, and he ordered his assistants to seize the insolent man. Suddenly, a voice in Thomas's head told him to use the ability of his eyes. The hero could see the enemy's weaknesses, the causes of the disease, and the method of cure. With this ability, he easily defeated his opponents one by one. When everyone was exposed, only Charlie remained, whom Thomas promptly incapacitated. The guy said it was a big mistake to attack him. The defeated leader suddenly began to cry. He said he had problems with his girlfriend in bed, but Thomas said he had something that could solve his problem. The hero took out the jar that Ashton gave him as gratitude. The guy explained that this product would help make Charlie a sexy macho and would attract many girls to him. When the man asked if it would really work, Thomas assured him of the reliability of this remedy. He said that he would take the hero's word for it, and if it really worked, he would return and pay the appropriate amount. The next day, unexpected guests again appeared at the store. Thomas asked who these people were. He did not immediately recognize Lucian, who was Victoria's favorite nephew. The hero asked why he came to him. The man ignored his question, talking about how pathetic Thomas, having such a beautiful bride like Alicia, he would so easily lose her, not only her, but his own home. His words resonated unpleasantly in Thomas's heart. Several years ago, when they announced their engagement, Alicia said that she did not want to get married now. She wants to find her love. Our hero only supported the girl's desire. The next day, he told Alicia that he had told his father about his intention to end the engagement. The guy congratulated her on the fact that she was now free to go in search of her destiny. The girl was deeply grateful to her now ex-fiancé. Lucian noticed a strange expression on Thomas's face, after which he said that Alicia is now his girlfriend, and the guy shouldn't even think about her. Hearing this, Thomas asked if it was true. The man was angry at this question. How dare some kid doubt his words? Ignoring the question, the hero hit Lucian. In response to this, he gave the order that his guards teach Thomas a lesson in good manners. Our hero fought off experienced bodyguards with all his might. While the hero was fighting, Lucian crept up from behind, raising the bottle to strike him over his head. A moment later, Thomas felt a sharp pain in the back of his head. Turning around, he told Lucian that it was mean to use such techniques, sneaking up from behind. The man said that he was not worthy of honest methods being used on him. Immediately after this, he again ordered his bodyguards to beat the guy, but suddenly a voice sounded, making everyone turn around. Looking to the side, everyone saw Charlie, who said that anyone who touched his friend would be killed at that moment. Having said this, he walked up to Thomas, blocking him with himself, and saying that while he was here, no one would touch him. Tom didn't expect that thing to actually work, and for Charlie to come here. Lucian knew that this man was too dangerous to confront. He said that since Charlie is here, the hero can consider them even. After these words, the company hastened to leave. When they left, Charlie asked if he was cool at that moment. But Thomas did not have time to answer. He lost consciousness. When Tom opened his eyes, he saw a girl looming over him in front of him. When asked where he was, she replied that it was the house of her brother, who brought him here and asked him to be taken care of. Immediately after this, she hurried to finish treating the wounds. Sometime later, Thomas thanked the girl and asked her name. She introduced herself as Grace Mitchell. At this point, they were interrupted by Charlie, entering the room. He said that he had good news. A few hours later, he introduced Thomas to his friends, saying that it was he who sold him the very medicine. The hero immediately used his ability to study these people. Sometime later, a beautiful girl with dark hair entered the room. She brought ginseng soup for Charlie and started feeding it to him. The friend sitting opposite did not understand how such a girl could court someone like Charlie. She heard the guys talking and was distracted by them. The girl approached them and threatened them with immediate violence if they could not keep their mouths shut. Realizing that they had allowed themselves too much, they apologized. Returning to her lover, she kissed him on the cheek, saying that she would not disturb his party. But friends did not stop wondering what they forced the girl to accept, because of which her behavior could be justified. Hearing their words, Charlie said that the girl did not take anything, but on the contrary, the man himself took it, and this effect appeared thanks to the miraculous remedy that he received from Charlie. After the man's explanations, everyone sitting here also wanted to buy this product. That evening, Thomas sold all his stock. The next morning, he asked the system to transport him to another world. To his surprise, the system immediately moved. But once there, a strong, unpleasant odor of unknown origin hit his nose. He had to cover his face with his hands to reduce the smell. But when he heard voices, he forcefully lowered his hands and saw Ashton, who represented a man unknown to him. Who was the source of this terrible smell? Thomas used his ability and learned that due to improper breathing during cultivation practice, the alchemist's body became the source of such a deadly smell. After this, the hero told the old man what the source of his problem was and began to look for something that could help him. A few moments later, Thomas took out a healing ointment that a man should apply to his body daily, but the hero said that he would not give it away for free. He had to pay with something. The alchemist offered his savior a marrow-cleansing liquid that helps cleanse and strengthen the body. The guy asked if that was all. Ashton was surprised that this was not enough. Thomas said that was enough. He explained that his ointment could only suppress the symptoms and not eliminate the problem itself. But if he knew more about the cultivation method, he might be able to find a solution. He needs to learn about the medicinal herbs and spirit stones that were used during cultivation. The men thanked Thomas for his generosity. A few moments later, our hero found himself in his own world. He asked the system why. As soon as he completed the exchange, he was immediately thrown out of that world. Thomas learned that the length of stay in the world of cultivators depends on the level of the store, which is currently at its lowest. He asked how to raise the level. He was told that it was necessary to make transactions for a total amount of 1 million. While Thomas was pondering the information he had received, Alicia suddenly appeared in the store. The girl noticed jars with supposedly new goods in the hands of our hero, after which she suggested that his business had expanded. The guy approached the girl, hovering over her, and asked if she wanted to try his products. Unfortunately, Alicia refused and said that today was their mutual friend Layla's birthday. Thomas was obliged to keep her company. Our hero replied that he did not have suitable clothes for such an important event. The girl predicted this, so she bought suitable clothes for her ex-group in advance. Thomas accepted the package with a completely new suit handed to him. It seemed to him that Alicia was trying to woo him, and therefore he could not afford to offend her by refusing her request. The next moment, the guy thanked his ex-fiancée, saying that he appreciated such a rare show of concern on her part. Hearing Thomas's words, her face turned red. A few hours later, the couple arrived at the hotel where the celebration took place. As soon as they entered, Lucy and met them on the way. A man who came out of the banquet hall attracted the attention of the guys and told them to quickly go inside. After his words, Thomas and Alicia entered the hall together, under the interested glances of the guests. Suddenly, somewhere in the middle of the room, Charlie's voice was heard, calling our hero. Thomas said they should come say hello to his friend. As the guy approached the waiting Charlie, Grace stood up from the table, saying how glad she was to see him. Alicia didn't like the fact that another girl was sticking to her fiancé, even an ex, and she asked who she was. The girl said her name, hugging Thomas closer to her. Alicia couldn't stand it and asked her to move away from the guy. After this, Grace asked if Thomas was Alicia's boyfriend, but the girl replied that he was only accompanying her, so he would sit at the same table with her. Thomas said he did his job by getting the girl here safe and sound. Alicia wanted to object, but he only asked if it was necessary for him to accompany her to the desired table. Distressed, she refused his offer, after which she turned around and walked towards her place. Suddenly another girl called out to Thomas. When he turned towards the voice, the hero of the occasion immediately rushed into his arms. He was happy to see his girlfriend after a long time, releasing the girl from his embrace. He congratulated her on her birthday, looking at how warmly Thomas communicated with Layla. She thought that she also wanted to have such a warm relationship with him. Suddenly, a blonde guy approached the friends. Our hero asked what Alfred forgot here. The guy replied that he couldn't help but come, because today was his engagement day. Thomas didn't understand what kind of engagement he was talking about, The next moment his brother said that he was engaged to Layla. The girl, as it turned out, was not aware of this fact. When she asked why she didn't know about it, she heard that her father wanted to unite with the Miller family, and their engagement had already been decided a long time ago. Paying attention to his friend's confusion, Thomas blocked her with himself and said that she did not want this. So Alfred had better stay away from her. The guy was indignant at such impudence, asking how some stranger dared to interfere in their affairs. The hero looked at his brother as if he were an annoying fly, asking what he would do to him for such an impudent intervention. The guy, who had noticeably lost confidence in himself, asked if Thomas really thought that there was no one in this room who could cope with him. Hearing his words, Lucian asked who among those present would teach him a lesson. Charlie came to his friend's defense. He said that Lucian would have to deal with him first. Suddenly, an older man walked into the center of the hall, interrupting the ongoing altercation. He asked what was going on here. The blonde said that Thomas was stopping him from talking to his fiancée about their engagement. The man approached Layla, saying that her mother agreed to this marriage, which would help unite two influential companies. But the girl said that she did not want to marry him. She wanted to marry someone like Thomas. Hearing this, her father said that a wedding is not a game, but a very serious decision. But she replied that she had been in love with Thomas since their first meeting. And if he was engaged before, now he is free. Alicia didn't like the words she heard and regretted her decision to break off her engagement. The man was surprised by the girl's words. He explained that her chosen one in his current position is not worthy of her. Even the Miller company no longer belongs to him. He asked his daughter to listen to her father's words. She, being the heirs of a large pharmaceutical corporation, would only harm the guy's current position. After a pause, he added that even if she loves him, this does not mean that Thomas feels the same. Our hero did not like the words of this man very much. A moment later, Layla tearfully asked Thomas about his feelings. He said he loved her too. Everyone who heard his words could not believe their ears. The next moment, the man's heart sank. Thomas and Layla hurried to help the chairman so that he did not fall. When the hero approached him, he told him words that no one else could hear. Then he informed everyone present that he would take Chairman Flores to the room. Half an hour later, the man returned. Vincent Flores, for some reason unknown to anyone, looked terribly pleased. The next moment he made an announcement that his daughter's engagement was called off. Half an hour ago, as soon as the man grabbed his heart, Thomas used his ability. Having received information about the man's condition, he understood the true reason for the engagement. Once alone, Thomas said that he had a way to cure the old man's genetic disease. After waiting a few seconds, he noted that it was not the chairman's style to so hastily arrange the marriage of his beloved daughter to merge a thriving pharmaceutical company with the Miller Company. When Thomas said that the only reason for this engagement was a rare genetic disease, Vincent lost his temper, threatening the guy with dragging him through the courts for libel. The hero reassured the man, saying that his illness was caused by an innate weakness of vital energy. But this can be easily cured with the help of a drug he inherited from his grandfather. It not only restores vitality, but also strengthens the body. He said that his brother could only counterfeit medicines. While he could provide truly healing medicines, the man trusted the guy, remembering his old friendship with his grandfather, and drank the offered drug. The next second, he felt his body filled with energy and all painful sensations disappeared. Layla was pleased with this statement and hurried to hug her father. Alfred was not happy. He asked about the reasons for this decision. The man replied that he only has one daughter, and if she does not want to get married, then he does not intend to force her. The blonde realized that Thomas somehow influenced this decision and told him that he would not easily forget today's humiliation and would definitely take revenge. When the guy left, Layla threw herself into her lover's arms. Alicia watched the happy couple, not daring to approach. When Lucian approached her with 2 glasses of wine, the girl took the drink without hesitation. Sometime later, Lucian's car was speeding away from the hotel. Sitting next to Alicia in the back seat, the man said that today he would charm her with his masculine charm. The girl wanted to resist the man, but something was mixed into her wine, and she was completely powerless. Suddenly the car suddenly froze. When he asked what happened, he was told that Thomas blocked their path. The hero demanded that the man let the girl go, but he only smiled insidiously, saying that he was just waiting for the guy to fall into his trap. Suddenly, a man appeared from behind Thomas and hit him on the head with batons. Lucian ordered the boy to be tied up in his arms and legs to be broken while he satisfied the girl in front of his eyes. The hero said that Alicia is not the kind of girl that someone like Lucian dares to touch. The next moment, one of the men rushed up the guy with a club wrapped in spikes. Everyone was surprised when Thomas stopped her with his bare hands, without even scratching her. He dealt with all the attackers in the blink of an eye and said that Lucian was next. The man got scared and covered himself with Alicia, saying that if Thomas approached him, the girl would die at that very moment. Without listening to the man's ravings, the hero knocked him out with one blow. After that, he picked up the girl and took her to his car. All the way Alicia complained of heat in her body. Sometime later the car stopped at Thomas's shop. He immediately carried the girl inside and began looking for a drug that could help the girl. The next morning, Alicia found herself tied up on the couch. She, perplexed, asked Thomas, who was peacefully dozing against the wall, what he had done to her. Opening his eyes, he explained that yesterday, when he was looking for medicine for her, she was too active and had to be tied up. Listening to the guy's explanations, memories of the events of last night came back to her. To embarrass her, she asked to untie her, after which she asked how he found her. He replied that after Lucian left, he didn't see Alicia anywhere and suspected something was wrong. She thanked him for saving her. Suddenly, a joyful Layla burst into the room. The girl caught the couple at the moment when they were hugging. Thomas wanted to explain that she had misunderstood everything, but at that moment the girl felt bad and lost consciousness. A few hours later, they sat in the hospital corridor and waited for news about Layla's condition. At one point, her father came out, saying that everything was fine with her and that he would like to talk alone with Tom. Alicia did not object and said that she would wait outside. After this, the man said that the girl had a hereditary disease for the first time, although she took the medicine and now her disease is under control. But the situation needs to be monitored. Thomas said that his medicine can only control the disease. He will definitely find a way to cure Layla completely. The man said he believed him and asked how the guy really felt about his daughter. The hero did not lie. He said that at the moment it was difficult for him to deal with his feelings. Having said this, he asked to notify him when the girl woke up and was about to leave. But suddenly he is faced with the question of whether he still loves Alicia. He replied that no. The most important thing for him now is to get the company back. The man accepted his answer, asking the guy to take care of his daughter. He advised him to carefully consider what words Thomas would say to Layla after she woke up. At the same time, Lucian asked for help to take revenge on Thomas. He was told that he would get help if he realized his mistakes. When the guy began to say that his main mistake was that he did not kill Thomas, the man could not stand it. He hovered over the guy, saying that his main mistake was that he had disgraced him. From such a threatening aura of his interlocutor, the guy began to frantically apologize for his rash actions. The man said that from now on Lucian need not worry about Thomas. He knows the right person who can easily handle this guy. At the same time, Alfred shared with his mother the events of the previous evening. Victoria said it was time to remove Thomas from the stage. When he asked how she was going to do it, he heard that for a reward there would always be a person willing to do it. A few hours later, the young man accepted a rather lucrative murder contract, for which he was promised 5% of the company's shares. He said that he would complete the task quickly and accurately. The hero himself was in the world of cultivation, trying to find out more information about the received drug. He inquired about how weak vitality could be cured. The alchemist said that his spiritual pearl could help with this, but Thomas gave him a remedy that would only reduce the manifestation of his illness, and not one that would completely cure him. When asked if Alan doubted him, the man replied that he only saw that the guy himself was not aware of the composition and effects of his products. Thomas objected how he could know about the basics of alchemy. He asked precisely because he wants to understand everything thoroughly and not listen to words about his incompetence. Ashton fell to his knees, asking our hero to calm down and not be angry with the old man. The guy realized that in order to get any information, you need to give them something. The next moment, he gave Ashton mouthwash, explaining how to use it, and saying that it would effectively remove bad breath for a long time. The man, without hesitation, took the remedy offered to him and immediately tried it in action. Afterwards, he was pleased with the pleasant sensation that appeared in his mouth. The next moment, Thomas told Ashton that he was ready to exchange that very medicine for 5 packs of mouthwash, or they could leave. The alchemist standing aside asked what he would get. The hero replied that he always gives good people twice as much as they give him, but Alan doubted him, so he would not get anything. The alchemist realized his mistake and asked for forgiveness. After waiting for some time, Thomas said that he forgives him for the first and last time. In gratitude, Alan gave the guy a box with spiritual pearls, some techniques and medicines. After this, Thomas gave the old man another remedy that has a stronger effect than the ointment. He tried his best to maintain the image, without betraying his inner joy at the fact that he was very lucky today. As soon as he returned back, he began to train his vital energy, because only with strong energy would he be able to take the spiritual pill. Sometime later, he received a call and an appointment was made. A few hours later, Thomas found himself at a lakeside coffee shop, making another deal with Charlie. Suddenly, he asked why his friend was so sad. Had that girl really left him? But in response, he heard that Grace had fallen in love with a rich, handsome guy, pointing to the side where the girl was with her boyfriend. Thomas said that Charlie shouldn't worry about it, but he said that he didn't like the information he found out about the guy. He said that Bruce Sanchez is the brother of the owner of an electrical store, but is not at all interested in the business of intimidating the weak and changes girls every month. Meanwhile, the object that is the cause of Charlie's dissatisfaction invited his sister to enjoy the local beauty together from a helicopter. Thomas and Charlie were amazed at how easily Bruce took the girl as they watched the helicopter fly away. The girl's brother wanted to follow his sister, but the friends belatedly realized that they did not have such an opportunity. A few hours later, both men were at Charlie's house, trying to find out Sanchez's whereabouts. As soon as they got the address, they immediately got ready to go there. But before they even had time to take a step out of the house, a satisfied Grace returned with a huge bouquet in her hands. Thomas asked why she followed an unfamiliar man to an unfamiliar place, and heard in response that such a handsome and good guy simply could not harm her. The next morning, an unknown boxer trashed Charlie's store, after which he awarded the owner of the destroyed store with powerful blows. Grace, who watched this scene, was horrified and was very worried about her brother. A few hours later, Bruce arrived on the scene, saying that he had a clue who did it. The man said that at Layla's birthday, Thomas managed to make many enemies for himself, and if Charlie was close to him, he would hook him too. Sanchez suggested to the other Mitchell that he formally announce the severance of all relations with Thomas. The man couldn't just abandon his comrade. Grace supported Bruce's idea, saying that he survived this time, escaping with Bruce's, but it is unknown how the next attacks will end. The girl's brother asked if her house was attacked, would she really leave her family to save herself? Bruce did not give up trying to convince the man, saying that today it was just a boxer who came. But what would he do if people with weapons came tomorrow? A sudden realization flashed through both Mitchells. Charlie asked the guy how he knew it was a boxer if he wasn't there at the time. Realizing his mistake, Bruce realized that he could no longer pretend and his partner appeared behind him. The elder Mitchell understood that he could not stand alone against two, so unnoticed by the man. He sent his location point to Thomas, in the hope that he would arrive in time. 15 minutes later, our hero arrived at the place that was sent to him by message. What he saw there infuriated him. Wounded, Charlie lay in a pool of his own blood. He immediately dropped down next to his friend, pressing on his wound to stop the bleeding. But the man told him to hurry up and save his sister, who had been taken by Bruce. The hero said that he would definitely save her, but first he would provide him with the necessary help. Sometime later, Thomas found himself at Sanchez's house. Meanwhile, the mercenary greeted the guest, saying that she would witness a most interesting performance. Without wasting time, our hero hurried to enter the house. At the entrance, a tall man in boxing gloves was already waiting for him. Bruce saw everything that was happening through monitors that were hung all over the wall. He said that in front of them was a world-class boxing champion, whom he hired for a lot of money. The next moment, the champion was knocked out with one blow, but the mercenary, who stood with his back to the monitors, missed this historical moment. The girl, who was carefully watching everything, asked what would happen if Thomas passed through the first floor. In response to Grace's question, Sanchez said that even if he succeeds, a deadly challenge awaits him next. On the second floor, a world-famous killer will be waiting for the hero, whose speed is something fantastic and whose claws are full of poison. The girl watched another victory of her friend, while Bruce said that against the next enemy, Thomas had no chance of winning. On the third floor, the guy will meet with a brilliant sword master. Meanwhile, Grace watched as the hero plunged a dagger, picked up from a previous enemy, into the swordsman's head, after which he fell dead. Sanchez ends his dialogue by saying that Thomas's final fate is the killer demon who has killed hundreds of people. When Bruce kills Thomas, he will receive 5% of the shares of the Miller Company. Looking at the images of the monitors, the girl said that he might not dream of such a thing. He objected to the guest's words, saying that this was not a sword, but a reality that she would witness. Grace asked if he could look back to see the reality. Suddenly, our hero entered the room, surprised that this was the last floor with tests on which he did not even have time to warm up. Bruce did not expect to see a living Thomas in front of him. The guy demanded that the mercenary release Grace. The next moment, the man drinks a drug of unknown origin. The mercenary's body immediately began to change, increasing in size and gaining muscle. Thomas decided not to miss the moment, an attack while his opponent was showing off. Such an attempt did not go unnoticed by his opponent. Bruce said that he was moving too slowly, and the next moment, he slammed the guy into the floor with one blow. Another person watched this from the side and was very pleased with the actions taking place. As the mercenary boasted about the benefits of using the liquid he had drunk, Thomas rose to his feet, seeing that his opponent is still alive. Bruce decides to finally finish him off, but the hero turned out to be faster than his opponent's fists and gets to his opponent in a matter of seconds, delivering a strong blow. The hero said that Bruce has no experience in fighting, so even his huge muscles did not bring him victory, but the man did not give up. He pulled a gun from behind his back, aiming at Thomas's head. The girl was scared for her friend when she heard the shot. The mercenary was confident of his victory. There is no person who could survive a shot to the head, but the bullet barely touched our hero. He stopped the bullet flying at him with one hand. Opening his hand, Thomas asked if Bruce was really so unsure of his abilities that he used the gun. The mercenary could not believe his eyes. The next moment, the man was completely defeated. When the hero freed Grace, he said that he hoped that this would end their conflict, and that he would never see him again. But if for some reason the mercenary does catch his eye, then he will not leave alive. When all the extra people left the house, a man came out of the shadows and had been carefully watching everything all this time. Bruce asked him for help, but instead of providing help, the man approached the mercenary, saying that it was time for him to disappear from the scene. A few hours later, Thomas brought the girl into her brother's room. Grace thanked the guy for saving her and her brother. Immediately upon arriving home, our hero said that he needed to get to another world. The system responded to his request, saying that the store had reached the second level and his stay in another world was increased to 20 minutes, and the hero also received the secret ability Die Hard. As soon as Thomas moved, Ashton and Alan immediately came to him. They said that they had prepared a new product for the deal, and the alchemist had prepared another gift as an apology. The hero thanked the men for their efforts, and the next moment said that he saw one guy take a drug, after which his muscles became very swollen. The alchemist replied that the vital energy shake-up pill has this effect. Although it has a temporary effect, it causes very serious damage to the entire body. Thomas asked how rare this pill was. The old man answered him that his former student violated the rules of the temple and sold these pills to other students so that they would pass the certification dishonestly, for which he was expelled. After these words, the hero realized that Victoria was also in contact with this world, interrupting the guy's thoughts. Ashton said that he could make a maximum of one deal on return pills. Thomas asked if he had any problems getting these pills. The man replied that the ingredient used to create these pills is only found on Mount Oka, but recently many monsters have appeared there. The alchemist said that if you do not climb the mountain, the supplies for other medicines will be exhausted. The hero said that he would help them, but his time in this world is very limited. The next moment, Alan said that if the guy mastered the gong teleportation technique, then there was hope. Suddenly, a girl appeared behind the men, and when Alan and Ashton saw her, they began to greet her. Princess Louise began to look around with interest the place she had arrived at while searching for Ashton, after which she looked at Thomas, saying that the situation here did not please her. When the guy asked what exactly didn't suit the girl here, Louise was at a loss as to how she could be confused with a little girl. Our hero's time is up and the system sends him back. The next day, our hero visited Layla. He gave her a spiritual pill, which all this time he had been imbuing with his life energy. The girl must absorb it, and then she will wake up in a couple of days. After that, he said that he would like to talk to the chairman and ask if they could step aside. Once in the restroom, Thomas showed the man a new drug. He said that this was an elixir of the return of his family's production, and it had one very beneficial effect on men's health. The man did not understand what effect he was talking about, but a few seconds later, realization dawned on him. Thomas asked if he could use it to increase his sales of this product during this month. Vincent considered his proposal and asked if the guy had a recipe. Our hero said that this is his family's family recipe, and he cannot advertise it. He wondered if he could wedge his elixir into the healthcare section. The chairman said that this needed Mr. Bryan's permission, but he had no connection with the man. After that, Thomas was about to leave, but before leaving, he asked whether to leave Vincent this elixir. When he returned home, he considered how he could increase his store's sales by inspecting all of his merchandise. After he found the thing he needed, he went to another world. As soon as the hero got there, he was immediately greeted by the evil Louise, saying that this time he would not dare to escape her wrath. A pretty beaten Ashton came to the guy's defense, saying that he was very busy and didn't have the opportunity to stay. But the man got it from the girl again. Thomas was not going to tolerate the impudent character of his guests, and said that if she came to him to make a deal, then she should behave according to his rules. Louise said since someone dares to set rules for her, then she will burn this place down in a couple of seconds. Even if she destroys it here, she won't get anything for it. And confirming her words, the princess staged a program in the store. Thomas was angry about the situation and was going to teach the girl a lesson in good behavior. But before he could take a step, Louise attacked him first. She asked if such a weakling was really going to teach her a lesson. When the hero was slammed against the wall by the girl's blow, he realized that her strength was many times greater than his. But the next moment, he remembered that he had a new skill, Die Hard, which he had not used yet. The next moment, the hero was surrounded by the aura of a dragon. He said that the girl would not be able to escape punishment for her actions. Ashton was afraid for the princess and fell to his knees, begging to spare Louise for her hot temper. The girl did not want to do evil, but Thomas said that if this were so, then she would not have destroyed his store. She should be hung upside down from the front of the store for 3 days so that she would rethink her behavior. Louise felt scared by the guy's words and burst into tears. Looking at the crying princess, the hero thought about whether he had gone too far with the threats. He decided to examine her using his ability to understand whether her tears were true. By activating his eyes, he learned that the girl was the pride of attention from her parents and was attracting attention to herself in this way. After that, he said that he understands that Louise is the pride of attention, but he is not going to indulge her whims. She must become more mature, and then she will be able to help her parents with business. The princess asked how she could become more mature. Thomas said that she should learn to respect other people and their work, after which they cleaned up the store together. Sometime later, Louise apologized to Thomas for her behavior. He said that since the girl came to her senses, she deserved a gift and handed her the box he had saved. When she opened the gift she was given, she found a beautiful mirror with cat ears. Immediately after this, the hero announced that his time was up and it was time for him to return. When Thomas returned, a few seconds later he received a message asking for a meeting. After some time, the hero was already sitting in front of his ex-fiancée in a cafe. Alicia said that Bruce Sanchez was missing. She had heard earlier that Thomas was looking for him earlier and asked her to be careful. When the hero heard about this, he did not have any reaction. He thanked the girl in a joking manner, saying that he would not forget the care shown to her. Suddenly, their conversation was interrupted by a phone call. When Thomas picked up the phone, He heard Alfred's voice asking if he was in his store now. Having received a negative answer, he said that the hero should hurry back. Otherwise, his house would be completely burned down. Thomas was furious at what he heard. When the guy suddenly jumped up from his seat and ran outside, Alicia hurried after him. Alfred said that this was his first gift in his life for his brother and ended the conversation. The girl caught up with Thomas already on the street, hugging him from behind. She stopped the guy, saying that revenge is never too late, but now it is dangerous. Because Victoria has cultivated fighters, fighting against whom is pure suicide. The hero was surprised how Alicia knew about this. She replied that her family also has such fighters. Thomas thanked the girl for the information and said that he would not act rashly. But first they should return. The girl agreed with the guy, and they hurried to the store. When the couple arrived at the scene, they discovered that only ruins remained of the building. Looking at all this, Thomas began to doubt that he would no longer be able to get to another world. The girl said that she would help the guy find a hotel for the first time. But the hero refused, saying that now it was better for him to be here alone. When the girl left, he turned to the system, hoping that she had not disappeared along with the store. He was glad when she responded and said that he could also move between worlds. The next day, he had an appointment and Thomas could not reach his partner for a long time. Suddenly, a man in a mask and dark glasses approached the hero, whom he recognized as Mr. Henderson. Michael asked the hero why he walks down the street without any disguise. When asked why he had to disguise himself, the man replied that Alfred had ordered the death of anyone who approached Thomas, and Henderson decided to meet him just for Charlie's sake. Having heard the explanations, our hero took out a package of elixirs of return. But Michael stopped him, saying that he had no money now. He just wanted to warn him and hurried to leave the guy's company. Thomas's resentment towards his own brother increased exponentially. He not only deprived him of his home, but also cut off his way of earning money. Sometime later, our hero returned to the destroyed store, thinking that he needed to restore the business. Grace suddenly came to him, saying that her brother's work team would arrive soon. Thomas thanked the girl for her help and suggested that they look around here. He was truly grateful that when he found himself alone with a lot of problems, his friends did not abandon him. Half an hour later, the builders arrived. Grace explained to them that the rebuilt store should have an attractive appearance for future customers. Thomas looked at the girl and thought that he could completely rely on her. In the evening, the guy returned to the hotel and sat down to meditate, feeding his core with energy to strengthen his body. The next morning, he found himself at the multi-story building in which his transaction today would take place. When Thomas arrived at the office of the head of the Rogers company, the man asked him whether he was really not afraid that Glenn might take revenge on him for Lucian. The hero said that he brought a bunch of goods as an apology. Having said this, the guy immediately activated his skill, trying to find out information about the man. The next moment, he already knew that Glenn was successful thanks to his character. But his girlfriend, thanks to investments, became richer than him, and now he needs a big deal so as not to lose face. But Thomas began to talk about the properties of the product he offered, which helps to look 10 years younger, restore former stamina, and strengthen men's health. But Rogers seemed completely uninterested in the product being offered to him, and he asked how much the guy wanted to sell him this product for. Our hero said that he wants 100,000 for one jar. He guarantees that this product will sell well. The man just smiled strangely and told the guy to keep such an expensive product to himself. The next moment, Thomas asked why Glenn had put so much effort into his success and now decided to become Lucian's errand puppy. Afterwards, he said that a man should discuss all the company's investments with his chosen one. But by giving Thomas to Lucian to be torn to pieces and receiving money for it, he will not prove that he is capable of anything. These words angered Rogers. He asked if he was tired of living, since he dared to say such words to him. The guards standing by the wall immediately rushed at the guy. Thomas used a new technique that instantly knocked out all the attackers. After this, the hero said that he was discussing business with their boss. They were superfluous here. The man sought Thomas's abilities and understood why Lucian was promising crazy money for this guy's head. The next moment, he said that if a guy has such outstanding abilities, then his product may turn out to be of quite good quality. He is ready for a deal. Thomas said that he would provide everything necessary and Glenn should only sell. They would split the profit in half. When the hero received the man's nod of approval, he handed him 20 bottles of elixir. Before leaving, Thomas said that Rogers should do a test sale and they would see each other again in a week. After our hero left the company building, 2 policemen approached him, asking the guy to go with them. Thomas did not understand what was happening here and why he was being taken to the police station. A few hours later, he left the station and the police began an investigation into the arson of his store. According to the video from surveillance cameras, the guy was unable to identify the arsonist, but this person is also a cultivator. Thomas should increase his level as quickly as possible, otherwise he will not be able to protect even himself. That evening, our hero meditated, strengthening the fragments of his internal energy to increase the level of his skills. There are several stages of using internal energy: initial, middle, and final. Thomas moved from the first to the second very quickly, because little by little he was already using his energy in everyday life. After that, he went to the world of cultivators. Once there, he met Ashton and Alan, who said that this was their last deal because they could no longer obtain the ingredients for their elixirs. Thomas regretted that his time here was limited, and he could not help them in any way. Louise suddenly appeared and said that this would not be a problem for her. Immediately after her words, she activated her teleportation technique. The next moment, they all found themselves in a picturesque place by the lake. The girl said that this was her family's territory. Suddenly, Ashton warned of impending danger. Turning around, our heroes saw a whole bunch of scorpions and spiders rushing towards them. Louise said that they should not be afraid when using their technique. Alan covered the princess from the rear using explosive seals. Thomas decided that while they were fighting, he could calmly exercise his energy. A few moments later, Ashton was overjoyed that he had managed to collect a large amount of divine web and scorpion tails for medicine. Suddenly, Thomas felt the atmosphere in the clearing change. A magical beast of incredible size came out to them, at the sight of which the scorpions parted. He slowly approached the company of our hero. The princess stepped forward, preparing to fight the beast. In the first second, her sword was broken on his spiritual barrier. The girl herself fell to the ground. As the beast loomed over Louise, she fell into a daze and could not even move a finger. A moment later, Thomas saves the girl from certain death from clawed paws. Alan used his seals on the beast, but as it turned out, it has a special structure and magic does not affect the monster. When the man wanted to tell Thomas about this, he was no longer there. He approached the monster, aiming his pistol at its head, but the bullet did not cause any harm. The monster sent a retaliatory attack to our hero. Thomas was surprised that the tranquilizer did not affect the beast, but a moment later, he was already lying unconscious. Alan and Louise were surprised that the kind of magic the guy used that the monster fell down in a matter of seconds. Suddenly, the princess noticed something appearing above the beast's head and asked what it was. None of those present knew the answer to this question, so Thomas decided to take a photo of it to find out more information later. Suddenly, the hero said that his time had come to an end, and it was time for him to return. During teleportation, the system said that the guy should not focus on increasing the level. He needs to increase the financial turnover of the store to reach 100 million in 23 days. Otherwise, all bonuses will be taken away from him. Suddenly, Alicia called him, saying that someone was following her. Meanwhile, the girl was driven into a dead end. The man said Sanchez's family needed her help. Alicia said that their family has a strange way of inviting people over. The man replied that this was an exception only for her. Some changes had begun at their top, and Alicia Ross's family needed large partners so that their company would not be swallowed up. She replied that the Ross family would deal with their own problems, and they had no plans to cooperate with the Sanchez family. Hearing the girls answered, the man said that since they were not destined to become friends, they would be enemies. Suddenly, they were distracted by a voice from above. Then Thomas appeared in front of them. The girl was very glad that her friend responded to her request for help. The man was no less happy about his appearance, because he would be able to receive a reward for this guy's head. At the moment when the unknown person used his technique, Thomas shielded the girl from the blow. He praised the hero for his courage, but it is a pity that the guy did not know that his needles were blocking chakras, and very soon he would lose his sensitivity. A moment later, Thomas felt very weak and how his vision was starting to fail him with every second. A minute later, the guy no longer saw or heard anything. It seemed to him that all the fatigue of the world had fallen on him. The man was pleased to see the helpless Thomas in front of him. When he came close enough to his victim, the guy suddenly opened his eyes. In the next moment, he hit the offender with all his might. The man did not understand how anyone could resist the effect of his needles. Thomas replied that he couldn't let anyone hurt Alicia. The girl was pleased with the words of her ex-fiancé. The next moment, the man ran away. Alicia hurried to her friend, worried that he could fall at any moment. The hero thanked the girl for her concern, after which he lost consciousness. The next morning, the guy opened his eyes, seeing his ex-fiancée in front of him. She said that he had accumulated too much vital energy near his heart and his body could not stand it. After getting dressed, Thomas asked if he could check one image against her family's database. Sometime later, after checking the information she found, Alicia said that this is an ancient teleportation and summoning spell. But to use it, you need to know secret techniques. She advised the guy not to get involved with this for his own good. The girl was very worried about her friend. She suggested that he hide here while he was being hunted. Thomas thanked the girl for the offer and said that he could not agree to this. He must regain the company. Alicia replied that she had guessed that she would hear something similar and said that she would fight with him, thanking his friend again. He left her house. A few hours later, he was sitting at Charlie's house, teaching him and his sister basic cultivator techniques so they could defend themselves. In the morning, a package was delivered to him, which he ordered for Layla as a gift. Thomas was surprised when the courier turned out to be his former classmate. They were both glad to meet and agreed to go to a party of former classmates that would take place that weekend. After his friend left, Mr. Rogers called him, informing him that half of his goods had already been sold and that he would soon transfer $1 million to the guy. After that, Glenn asked our hero to come to him. He found a major client for his product. So from now on, Thomas will no longer have problems with sales. As soon as Rogers ended the call, he told the man standing next to him that he would bring Thomas Miller here under false pretenses because he dared to trade on his territory. A few hours later, Glenn introduced our hero to Brian Kelly, a large buyer of body care products. After Rogers said that this was the guy who supplied the elixir of return, Thomas greeted Mr. Kelly, saying that he had heard a lot about him. The hero remembered that Chairman Floor was afraid to sell the elixir precisely because of this man. Suddenly, Glenn said that he would wait outside while they talked. This alerted our hero. When the door closed behind the departed man, Thomas was about to tell the details of the product he was offering, but he was stopped. Kelly said that he would buy everything, but he needed a secret recipe for the elixir. The hero replied that the rights to this recipe belonged only to the Miller family, and he could not tell anyone else about it. Hearing the guy's answer, the man said that in this case he was buying Thomas, who would produce this drug for him all his life, 24 hours a day. Our hero didn't like this proposal. He said that business doesn't work like that, and it's better for them to go their separate ways. Suddenly, Brian's bodyguard attacked the guy, who did not have time to react in time. Kelly said that's how he does business. Either Thomas agrees to his terms or he dies. The hero replied that he was not a coward and was not going to become his slave, and if the man wanted, then let him kill him. At the moment when Kelly approached him with a burning flame, the guy closed his eyes, expecting to feel severe pain. But nothing happened. The man patted Thomas on the head, saying that he took after his father. Brian said that his father once saved his life, and now he has returned the favor by sparing his son. The hero tried to use the ability of his eyes on a man, but the system said that spiritual protection from scanning was at issue. Kelly noticed the guy's strange reaction and asked what was happening to him. Thomas got out of it, saying that the man's bodyguard was too beautiful, so he was confused, after which he offered to continue their negotiations. The guy again took out the elixirs, saying that he would supply them and Brian would sell them. Kelly agreed to the conditions, but said that he would take 90% of the profit. The hero did not like this situation and tried to negotiate up to 70%. Having received a refusal, Thomas said that he would independently promote his product. The man didn't want to lose this guy and said he would take 80%. The hero agreed and said that he had one small request, having received approval to voice it. He asked Brian if he thought that 3 participants in one business was too many. Sometime later, Mr. Kelly went out to his car, where Glenn was already waiting for him. Approaching him, Brian said that he should not interfere in his business with Thomas. Once in the car, the girl asked Mr. Kelly why he let Thomas go. Hearing the question from his subordinate, he asked what she thought about this boy, and a reply that he had poor cultivation and did not know how to fight at all. Brian objected to her that cultivation can always be improved, but such courage as he has is difficult to find, especially since he repaid the debt to an old friend. 3 days later, the guy returned from the world of cultivators once again, but today he was very pleased. He managed to conclude several large deals and arrange supplies. Suddenly, he remembered the upcoming alumni meeting and immediately went to the city. On the way, the hero was flooded with memories of peaceful days with his close friends. A few hours later, he was sitting in a karaoke bar with his former classmates, when suddenly one of them asked if Thomas would like to join him. The man inherited the business and now has millions spinning around. The hero refused, saying that he did not need such a low salary. Having said this, he completely turned his attention to his girlfriend, who was now performing her favorite song. Suddenly, a drunk man burst into their room. He approached Alicia, asking if she wanted to sing with him. The next moment, that same classmate jumps up, telling the man to get away from his Alicia. Thomas didn't understand when the girl managed to get close to this guy. While the hero was thinking, the unknown person managed to hit him with blows. The guy decided to intervene. He said that they do not welcome outsiders at this meeting. The man did not intend to leave without a fight. Thomas went to meet him, entering into battle with him, and the next moment, he took him out with one blow. After that, the man apologized and hurried away from here. Everyone started praising Thomas and talking about how cool he was. Alicia also considered her ex-fiancé a very strong and brave, because he repeatedly saved her from different situations. A few hours later, everyone began to go home, and Grace came to pick up our hero in an expensive foreign car. Alicia didn't want to leave Thomas alone with this girl, so she asked for a ride too. When everyone got into the car, the girl asked what kind of relationship Grace had with Thomas. Grace asked why Miss Rose was asking her such a question. The girl replied that the guy already had a fiancée, Layla, and she hoped that Miss Mitchell would not cross the acceptable line, but she replied that even if she crosses her, she will do it from the bottom of her heart, without hiding behind the fact that the guy has a fiancée. Alicia took these words as a challenge and decided to speak openly too. The next moment, she admitted to Thomas that she liked him too. The hero was pleasantly surprised by this turn of events. After that, Alicia asked Grace to stop the car. Her stop was here. When the girl was about to leave, Thomas stopped her, handing her a talisman. Alicia took it and asked where the guy got the amulet from the new collection from Kelly. He replied that Mr. Brian gave it to him in honor of their partnership. Hearing the guy's answer, the girl told him to be careful because the man was known for his cruelty. The next day, Thomas went to another world on Mount Ulka. He told Louise that he wanted to try to record the sounds of animals, and then he would surprise her. The girl sadly said that they would not see each other again soon. She would have long training sessions. After that, she invited them to take a photo together. A few minutes later, the princess said goodbye to Thomas. Suddenly, a man approached her from behind, asking if this was the same store owner whom the girl frequented. Louise forgave with tears in her eyes. Don't make trouble for Thomas. She will be obedient and train hard. After returning, our hero went to Charlie, after which they staged a training battle. The man was inferior to his friend in agility and speed, due to which he was defeated. Thomas said that Charlie was making fairly rapid progress and suggested that they take a short break. Suddenly, Glenn Rogers called him and said that one of the guy's friends was visiting him now, after which he said that he would be waiting for him at the port bar. After Glenn ended the call, he told the man standing next to him that Thomas would be here soon. After that, Jack took out a bottle with unknown content and said that with this remedy they would definitely win. When Glenn asked what it was, he heard that it was a stimulant that increased physical strength. They then threw it to a passing man, asking him to drink it and fight Roger's bodyguard. He complied with the request without hesitation. Immediately after this, his body grew overgrown with muscles and increased in size. The bodyguard immediately struck, but this did not cause even the slightest harm to his opponent. The next moment, the man took out the bodyguard with one blow. After that, he switched to Glenn himself, approaching him with a self-confident smile. But before he could do anything, Jack knocked him out with a blow to the back of the head. After examining his savior, Rogers asked what would happen to him if he took this drug. The man replied that it was better not to drink it because it harms the brain. But a moment later, he pulled out from under the table a whole box with 10 of the same bottles. When asked where it all came from, Jack replied that he got it from Alfred Miller. When Grace returned home, she wanted to please her brother with the news. But after going into the hall, the girl found only a note that he had gone with Thomas to a bar at the pier. When the men arrived at the place, they were already waiting. A man with a crowd of guards behind him said that this place belongs to high society and outsiders are not allowed here. Thomas said they were there on business and asked if they could politely let them through. But Steve Cook responded with a categorical refusal, saying that he must either provide a VIP pass or issue it for $100,000, after which he carefully examined both men, saying that they would find neither one nor the other, and ordered the guards to take them away from here. While Thomas stood and watched everything, Charlie successfully dealt with all the guards. After this, the friends continued on their way without hindrance. Once inside the bar, they found Glenn and a man they didn't know sitting next to him. The hero asked when Nicholas was, for whom he came here. Jack replied that this was not the main thing right now. They invited the guy to discuss cooperation, after which he handed Thomas the contract, saying that he only had to sign it, and after that Alfred would not touch him again. They were even ready to help him return the Miller Company to himself. After listening to the man, our hero inquired about the terms of the contract. Jack replied that he should give him and Rogers 95% of the shares of the Miller Company. Thomas asked if the people who managed the property knew how his family's company operated, having accepted the guy's refusal. Jack gave free rein to the guards who drank his drug. When the two big guys rushed at Thomas, Charlie blocked him with himself, taking the blow himself, after which the man flew into the adjacent wall. Our hero was distracted by his friend, which is why he noticed the blow late. He managed to put up a hand defense at the last moment, noting that the strength and speed were much higher than those of his past opponents. While Thomas was having fun with one of the men, Charlie, who had come to his senses, decided to take on the second one. A few moments later, a dozen more of the same thugs arrived at the hero's opponent. Thomas understood that he would quickly deal with them, because they were all only at the first stage of using spiritual energy, while he and Charlie, being at the second, could influence external objects with their energy. Taking out Jack was the top priority for our hero at the moment, interrupting his thoughts. He was attacked by his former enemy, but Thomas used his skills, sending the man flying without even laying a finger on him. Glenn was surprised by the guy's abilities. He was wondering what kind of power this was. The next moment our hero headed towards Jack. To the boy's surprise, the man also used the second-level spiritual energy ability. Thomas managed to dodge the fatal blow only thanks to his quick reflexes. After this, Jack asked the hero if he knew any second-level techniques. Suddenly, their conversation is interrupted by Charlie's sudden appearance from above. While Jack was distracted by his friend, Thomas decided not to hesitate and attack. The man managed to escape a very destructive attack at the last moment. He was pleased, because according to his calculations, the guy should have already used up all his strength. He then used his wind blade technique and headed towards the enemy. Thomas knew that he would not be able to dodge this attack. The next moment, the hero blocked the enemy's attack with a blow to his hand. The man asked why Thomas was so vehemently resisting him and heard in response that he was trying to take the Miller Company away from the guy. The hero said that he would never put up with this. After that, Jack said that he simply offered cooperation. If the guy is against it, then he has no right to force him. The man asked not to pay attention to his charges. They are not all out of their minds and said that now Thomas's friend is in the third yacht at the party and Alfred gave him these enhancements. Charlie was sure that the man was now trying to load their vigilance so that he could do something unpleasant later. But the hero said that since Jack was so kind to them, they would take the chance and leave. Already on the street, Thomas explained to his friend that the man had strong techniques and it was better not to mess with him. Now it was more important for them to save Nicholas. Glenn asked Jack why he let the guy go. He replied that if he tried to kill him, he would do it to his own detriment. After a pause, he added that it was unlikely that Alfred would let him leave alive. Meanwhile, Nicholas was forced to dance on a pole in women's clothing, entertaining guests of the current heir to the Miller Company. Suddenly, Charlie and Thomas joined the party. Alfred said that by coming here, his brother had trapped himself. The hero said that the time had come to pay for all past sins and rushed towards his brother. Heir Miller covered himself with the girl sitting next to him, exposing her to attack. Thomas barely managed to stop without hitting the girl. But the next moment, Alfred activated his technique, intending to kill Thomas. But the guy dodged the sudden attack. After this, Alfred said that he was giving everyone present a chance to receive a reward if they killed Miller Sr. As soon as the man said these words, everyone in the hall took the enhancing elixir. Meanwhile, Charlie and Thomas prepared to attack. Glad that they had the perfect opportunity to practice their skills, the hero easily dealt with his opponents. Watching the fight, it seemed to Alfred that something was wrong with the elixir. Suddenly, Charlie missed the shot. Thomas was distracted by his friend. The next moment, a bottle of alcoholic drink flew at his head. While the guy tried to comprehend what had happened, wiping the liquid from his face, his brother did not hesitate. A moment later, Thomas's entire body was engulfed in flames. Miller Jr. said that this is imported vodka, which has a very high degree. The hero knocked out everyone who stood in his way to his brother. When Thomas finally reached his destination, he pulled Alfred into a tight hug, after which he said that they would burn and held together. Miller Jr. could only ask for help so that someone could put out the fire. Suddenly, someone heeded Alfred's pleas and put out the fire. After this, Thomas attacked his brother. He said Alfred wasn't worthy of the Miller name. The guy could only beg for mercy and tremble with fear, seeing his angry brother in front of him. Thomas did not heed the pleas, saying that no matter what Alfred said, he did not deserve mercy. Moments later, Miller Jr. lay completely beaten by his brother. Thomas was about to cut off his younger brother's hand. He was too caught up in his revenge that he did not notice the presence of someone dangerous. The next moment, Thomas flew out of the yacht, crashing through the wall with his body, after which the guy fell right under the feet of Glenn and Jack. Just as the men had predicted, Rogers was pleased that finally there was someone who could cope with the annoying Thomas Miller.